Hi everyone, welcome to our SheTek Outlet, episode 18. My name is Elaine Tanimura. I am the program director for SheTek. For those of you who are regulars with the outlet, you'll notice that we've been away, but we are now back and we've got a great lineup, starting with this session with two of our very special guests today. Chaya Pamula, who's our SheTek founder, also the PAM10 co-founder, president, and CEO, and Dr. Shanta Thoutam, Chief Innovative Officer from the Telangana State of India. Before we get started with our session, just wanted to give you some housekeeping rules. Everyone today is on mute and no video. If you have questions throughout the session, please put them in the Q&A box and Joanne and I will monitor them. This session will be recorded, and at the end of the session, we will be posting this recording to our SheTek community so that you can view it or share it. So with that, I'd like to welcome Chaya and get started.
Thank you so much, Elaine, and welcome, Dr. Shanta. It's a pleasure to have you today with us on this episode. And you know, you have a great profile and track record, and you're a very successful woman in the tech industry. So really attracted us to learn a lot from you and your background, your experience. So I have a few questions that I would like to start off with. You know, especially looking at your profile, your bio, we felt that your journey is pretty interesting in your especially your career journey. So I'm very keen in understanding how you moved into the tech industry from where you started, and what is that first interested you in the tech field that pulled you into this field. I think many of the listeners would be interested in understanding that.
Yes, those are really kind words, Chaya. I really appreciate it, and all the team here. In India, basically, you know, when a child is born, you know, usually the parents say, you know, my child either becomes doctor or an engineer. You know, that's how the mindset is, you know, for most of Indians, you know, the Indians who are born somewhere from 70s and 90s. But now the trend changed a little bit. So even I grew up with that mindset that I'll become an engineer, and I did, you know, that herd mentality, and I did go to an engineering school. I was a gold medalist. You know, it was the passion to kind of ace in everything. So 4 years, all the semesters, I was a 4.0, and I bagged a gold medal in electronics and instrumentation. And even when I was kind of you know, choosing like you know, whether should I take civil engineering or electronics engineering. So my mind was like, let's get into something technical. I don't just observe, but I notice. And when I do things, when I think about things, you know, I would like to do something design wise too. So that's how I ended up in electronics field. And after my 4 years, I thought of going back to this instrumentation industry and do something in that space. But you know, a pivotal thing happened in my life. That's when after I finished my graduation, my school principal kind of you know, like head of the department called me and kind of asked me, what are your plans? And I said, I want to kind of work in the instrumentation industry. And that was in 2000. And as I said, like the herd mentality, and you know, not many were thinking on finding a job immediately after graduation. But I said I wanted to kind of, you know, work in the industry. But he said, in a class of 60, 55 students are going for masters in, you know, in US. And why do you want to work here immediately? Why don't you kind of pursue masters? And I gave a thought about it, and then I ended up in US and did my master's in electrical engineering. That's when I learned a lot about analog IC designing. I published a lot of papers. You know, it's a different setting altogether, like doing a lot of research. It's moving away from theoretical knowledge to kind of doing a lot in the practical sense. And then right before my graduation, I was hired by Motorola spin-off Freescale Semiconductors. Again, that gave me a platform to design ICs, integrated circuits, and do something in that space. So 5+ years I worked as an analog IC designer in Austin, Texas, and learned a lot. Yeah, so that's where my technical journey started. And then again went back to school to pursue PhD in analog IC designing. Another pivot again happened in my life when I was back in school for my PhD, and the thought, the inner voice asked me this question. You know what? You're back to the campus. Again, as an engineer, you have done 5+ years, and what is that next thing? And I ended up working in an entrepreneurship institute, and learned a lot about startups, commercialization, technology transfer. Again, it's all related to the technical expertise what I have, and learned the business angle too, and how to kind of help startups scale up. Again, that pivot helped me to reach India and do what I'm doing right now. So yeah.
So that's really brings another interesting question. It's even my journey was pretty, like, it was not a straightforward thing. It kind of kept navigating through the system.
Yes,
and I never thought where I am today, I would be there. So it's your journey pretty much sounds like mine. But one question I have is, you said that you got trained in entrepreneurship and you tried to learn on the startups and the business on the business side. What really interested you to think about the startups and focus on entrepreneurship? A lot of us find technology as one of the career option, go for those jobs and let's be settle in those jobs, not necessarily think about getting into entrepreneurship and startup community. So how did that happen?
I would say, entrepreneurship is not everyone's cup. You need to have a nerve to become an entrepreneur. And on top, I would say, if you have financial freedom and if you feel like you're empowered and you want to kind of, create jobs for others to work for you rather than you working for someone else, then that is the path. That's the best path, I would say, in the current scenario. If you see the celebrities across the globe, and also any celebrity or any known person is more geared towards investing in startups. That's where the buck is. That's where everyone is. Gone are those days like people are investing in stocks and the mutual funds and stuff like that. Now the new thing is startups. And quickly you can make money if the startup is really a successful one. But in my sense, like even for recent RCGs, recent college graduate students, I keep telling, if you have financial freedom and if you have a lot of appetite and passion to learn more in a short span of time, then startup is a place for you to work, because you throw your hands on a lot of things and learn a lot of things. So as a PhD student, I started working in this entrepreneurship institute. And I did a lot, in 5 years span, I started as a program manager and I became a director to run a proof of concept program. So that's where you learn a lot, it's quick success. But again, you need to understand the nitty-gritties and how to kind of put together the puzzle and create an impactful program. So that, because I worked in the industry for 5 years and went back to school as a professional, I was not just a student, but a professional with that kind of design mindset. So I could put together things and kind of create impact, I would say. So startups is a place for everyone. If you have the financial freedom and if you have the nerve, it's not that easy journey for sure. But this is the next big thing. Yeah. And I found my calling almost like in 2011. That's like almost, a couple of years ago.
That's awesome. I know you talk about calling. I think you will touch on it more.
Yes.
It's one of the questions I have is really, we see that you went from working at a university in New Mexico. Now you are with the government sector in India and at a very high level, leadership level. So first of all, when you say the calling, a lot of people ask me this question: what was your calling? How did you get that calling? How do you know there is a calling, right? So is that you can touch on that a little bit. What is that inner calling you had that really made you to leave the career in United States and go back to India and join the government sector?
So calling if I have to say very simply, it's like every day you should feel like jumping out of your bed and go to work. If you're happy at work, then you're following your calling, and that's what your calling is. If you're miserable at work, then that's not the place for you. Yeah. So in a simple way, I keep it like, are you happy? What is just as simple as it is. When I went back to school for PhD, I have to work on my PhD dissertation. That's like almost 40 hours a week. But still, I used to work in an entrepreneurship institute because I used to love that work. And that made almost like every day, like, feel like, what, I have to go to work today and do something in that space, in entrepreneurship, in technology transfer, commercialization, and go back to campus setting again and do some research, change the gears, the whole mindset, that 5 years was packed for me, like almost like I used to toil for like 18 to 20 hours, but still I was like pretty much active and alive. And I was a student senator. I was, a president for a couple chapters on campus and couple associations. So, that get me going. So I always see like calling is nothing but like that makes you kind of feel alive and pretty much do like you're happy by what you're supposed to do and what you're trying to do. So,
That's
and then
great point. Yeah, you need to
and
really
then
enjoy what you're doing.
Yes. And then had I stayed back as an electrical engineering and analog designer, I could have definitely made a lot of money in US. But before graduation and after graduation, that was in 2015 and 2016. Again, chasing the calling is also very important. It's not just identifying your calling, but also like you have to continue to keep up that momentum. What is your, once you identify this is what I love to do, but kind of you have to understand like, I want to chase it. I want to kind of achieve it and kind of reach to the fullest, do the fullest in that space. So then the summer before my graduation and after my graduation, I went to Syracuse, New York, and work in the startup space. I was a program director for an accelerator program in Syracuse, New York. So I said, I worked on campus, but now I did the testing in the market too. And I felt very comfortable that like whatever I did on campus, I thought probably like, I was in the cubby hole, like, in a safe environment on campus, and I did everything well. But I have to see myself whether I could do the same thing outside the campus too. That's when I worked in New York, and I felt pretty safe that, I'm doing really well because I standardized the accelerator program. Then the whole of upstate New York embraced my program. And they felt really happy as PhD candidate from New Mexico State University came all the way to New York to spearhead an accelerator program for startups. So that gave me a lot of confidence. And I said, like, this is where I want to stick. I don't want to go back as an engineer and make a lot of money. I might make little less money in this entrepreneurship space, but I'm happy here. I'm a happy soul. I know I'm touching a lot of entrepreneurs, and also like people who want to innovate. So I stayed in that space. That's another pivot which helped me. And another pivot happened June 2016 when I heard our IT minister, Mr. KTR of Telangana, and his vision. And again, my inner soul spoke to me and said, like, what is the next thing for you? And I reached out to T-Hub, India's largest incubator, and I spoke to the CXOs for 30 minutes, and I expressed interest, like, in this is what I have done in the US, and I want to come back and contribute back to my home state, and of course, home country to India. And then they gave me an opportunity, and in 2016, I relocated back to India, and I'm happy. Again, another setting for me to prove myself. Whether this calling is right, and I have identified it. And I have done to the fullest. So campus setting, I did my best. I proved myself. I carved a niche for myself. And outside campus setting in the US, I did the same. And back in India, in the new ecosystem and an emerging ecosystem, I did my best, gave my best, learned a lot, served in building the ecosystem in the last 6 years, and again carved a niche for myself. So again, the happiness. How content are you? If it's very clear, I keep telling my friends too, and I'm speaking my mind here too. Sometimes it's not just money; it's that happiness which makes us really stay on top of our toes. So I chose happiness than money. I do make a little bit of money, which makes me comfortable. So that's how I put it.
Well, it's very interesting how you put it, right? It's listening to you. One thing that's so clear is, first of all, understanding what makes you happy, and second thing is not letting the opportunities go away from you, from your vision, because when this is the kind of thing that interests you, you have to start looking for those opportunities. And third thing is speak out, ask. A lot of times you sit there and you think that, oh, this is not possible for me. This is I am in the United States, this is in India, and they have something. Should I be even calling them, talking to them? And what is more important is to speak your mind, call and ask for opportunities, and present themselves. I think that's really a great testimonial to that. So
I did multiple times. Times. That ask is very important. When I went back to campus as a PhD student, I volunteered with this entrepreneurship institute for a couple months, and then I got observed full time. And even the Indian opportunity, I did ask. Even the Syracuse opportunity, I tried outside of New Mexico. So it's trying. It's like apply, and you see a lot of no replies, but still, there is an opportunity.
Yeah, and that's the most important. They keep trying. To not lose confidence and ask for it. If you don't ask, it's not going to come to you. So one other thing, as part of this journey, did you see a difference in the way the sectors operate? I mean, you worked in the United States for the university as well as in New York City, establishing the startup entrepreneurship community. And now in India, and you're working with the government, there is always a difference even between the public sector and the private sector. But now you're talking about two different dynamics across the globe. And did you face any different challenges at workplace or in the culture, overall culture, work culture?
So I am born in India. I was raised in India. So I understand the culture here, the mindsets here. And although I lived in US for 15 years, I kind of absorbed the best things over there. For my personality, especially for myself, if there is a barrier or like an institutional barrier or a challenge, I don't see it as a challenge right away. I kind of look into it and see how best I could kind of, navigate through it. So I don't go with that mindset. Whatever I was exposed in the US, I would be in the same setting in India too. So you have to be conscious, and you should prepare yourself. So when I relocated to India, I had no expectations that the work culture would be so and so, or things might happen this way. So I was open. I came with that open mind, and I said, whatever is thrown at me, I'll see how best I could handle that situation. There were, because American ecosystem is very established ecosystem. Indian one is emerging ecosystem, but there are pros and cons, and I best utilized being part of this emerging ecosystem because this gave you a lot of leeway to kind of experiment, to try things, and also create things. The challenges are good challenges, I would say, to have. Work culture, yes, there are. Again, I understand the Indian mindsets, so that kind of gave me an extra layer of opportunity to see, how to kind of overcome those challenges too. But I just took it everything with a pinch of salt, I guess. Yeah,
that's great. That's great. And all of us come across different challenges, and it's actually, I see it as a complementary thing to be able to work in multicultural
Yes.
organizations, especially now everything is so global. The world is
Yes.
flat, right? So it's important
Yes.
to do that. So in your current position, do you get the opportunity? I'm sure you get the opportunity to listen to a lot of young or new ideas, new concepts, and people presenting to you. And do you get the opportunity to how do you influence? Let me ask you, how do you influence others and also provide opportunities? Mainly our focus, because it's a SheTek forum, my focus is on providing opportunities to women. So within your job duties and responsibilities, how do you find those opportunities for women and influence them?
So I keep it very simple. I never stick myself to a certain role, in the sense, if I am the CIO, then I don't limit myself to that. If I have to kind of go above and beyond for anyone, especially for women, I would do that. Very recently, I came across an acquaintance, but she became a good friend now. She came to me and said, like, she wants to do something for women in the ride sharing business. And it's beyond my, I would say my roles and responsibilities, but still I felt she's very passionate and she wants to do something in that space. And every time she comes meets me, I'm not just sitting with her, but I'm bringing other people to kind of interact with her, so that she also kind of tests her assumptions. So I spend good amount of time on that. I just don't let go people and say, like, this is not my job and I'm not and I don't have time for that. That's the last thing I would do for anyone. I accommodate somehow, and if I'm not available, I ensure like that person is meeting someone else and is getting advice, the right advice. In fact, Uday reached out to me and said that, his wife wants to do something for women and students. And I said, like, I'm traveling, Uday, and I connected with my colleague, and you just catch up with her, and once I'm back in town, we'll catch up. So I will not let go. I'll not let go anything to be open. I always try to close, especially women. Again, we do have an incubation center explicitly for women, and if I see they could get support from this incubation center, I connect them immediately. But if I'm not available, there should be someone who is kind of accountable to take care of this person. So I ensure that kind of a connection is made, and I do follow with them and keep track of what they are doing. So I would say, with all humbleness, people say that go to this person, Shanta, and things will be done for you. So I do ensure that. So I do take time out for such kind of activities outside my purview of role, and even if it falls in my responsibilities, I take more care on how they are kind of reaching their goals. I do speak at colleges and talk about change, embracing change, and what is entrepreneurship, innovation, for them to kind of become entrepreneurs. And I tell them, like, it's not just working with in a safe job, but there are other opportunities to explore. So even one female student gets inspired and starts something, I'll be happy. In fact, I went to a women's college, and I was speaking there, and then I was jury for something, and eventually that college student came to T-Hub. I was working with T-Hub then, and came to T-Hub and took his internship role. And she mentioned, Shanta ma'am, I heard your speech, and I came to T-Hub and I took an internship role at T-Hub. And now she's in a good role. She's working with a VC firm now. So I feel proud. Such kind of instances, like, I made a difference to one person, at least one person to begin with.
Of course, it makes a huge
Yes.
difference for, especially being in the leadership role. It's important that you are a good influencer on others, and sharing our knowledge and experiences is the most important thing. And I can vouch to everything that you said, because when I met you, I was actually looking for you in that on that floor. So you were in the middle of a bunch of people. You're all working, and I really like the work culture there and the way it was all set up. And the way you received, and you're very welcoming, to the new ideas and everything. So I mean, I can 100% vouch for that, and that's what really opens up for innovation. You want to listen to other people and their ideas and see how that relates to, and then also helping them to streamline and give them a framework to convert their concept or idea into a real solution. So that brings me to the next question. In the current scenario, where you're working, especially with the state, are there any interesting innovation efforts that are happening where you're involved in? And what do you think would give more opportunities for women to be part of those innovations?
So, in fact, Telangana is the startup state, 29th state, which is the youngest state of India. It's like 6 years ago, we had 2 incubation centers and few hundreds of startups. But 6 to 7 years later now, we have thousands of startups and almost like 75 plus incubation centers. Our government is very progressive. Right now, our IT minister, KTR Garu, sir, is in UK, kind of meeting the industry folks over there. And then he will head to Davos, the World Economic Forum. And our IT principal secretary is with him. So both these tall leaders are visionaries. So 6 years ago, we did not had India's largest incubator T-Hub, Telangana State Innovation Cell, the overarching body, which is taking care, which is the go-to destination for innovation. We did not had the women incubator and a V-Hub. So there are 8 initiatives which were started by the government of Telangana. And the 9th one is rolled out by Telangana State Innovation Cell, a youth hub that is explicitly catering to youth and adolescents. So we wanted to catch young minds to build and nurture the culture of innovation. So through Youth Hub, we will be doing a lot of activities, and there is no such thing as it will be catering only to male entrepreneurs. This will be open to every demographic from grade 6 onwards. So this is one of the initiatives that we rolled very recently. And for women, so the Women Incubation Center, the state-led one, V-Hub, they are thinking to roll out a framework in femtech space, something to build a healthcare portfolio for women startups in that space. So it will be rolled out very soon. Again, state-led initiative and explicitly for women, and a lot of programs that we are spearheading. We do look into women. Very recently, we rolled out an hackathon. Again, we kept at least one woman should be part of the team. So this is for menstrual waste management. Okay. So hackathon, what we are doing with one of the NGOs, WaterAid. So there are multiple initiatives which are kind of taking off. I'm sure much more will happen in this space. Innovators my focus is on bringing more women innovators with whom we work in the next couple months and couple years. When we look at the number of innovators across Telangana, predominantly we see a lot of male innovators, but now even I'm thinking how should we kind of inspire women, student innovators, women, girl childs, to innovate and to kind of take their innovations to the next level. So we are thinking on those lines. Yes,
that's great. It gives them a good exposure because
yes.
I'll tell you, there is so much of hidden talent, and sometimes they're not given the opportunity to showcase their talent. And given the platform and the opportunity and some training and the framework, I'm sure there will be a lot more, youth and even women, for that sake, that would be interested in or would be bringing out their innovations.
Yes.
So-
And even when we get to see some enablers reaching out and wanted to partner with us, they also kind of pitch programs explicitly for women in coding. So the programs I'm talking about are state-led, but besides the state-led opportunities, we have a lot of private sector players who are doing something for women. I'm sure Pamtech is also doing in that space. The sky is the limit, I would say. So many things are happening. It's up to women to kind of leverage and kind of as I said, like, find your calling and see like what resources are available and kind of absorb them, leverage them, and kind of grow to the next level.
So, 'cause speaking of opportunities, right? So, if there are companies that are, let's talk about women-led companies, right? So they are innovating different things. What is the opportunity for them in India? I mean, how do they really come and propose a similar concept or idea as part of innovation?
So at T-Hub, we used to have these bridge programs where we used to take international startups to India market and also Indian startups to international markets. We have similar kind of opportunities. And with TSIC, we haven't thought through the innovation cell. We haven't thought through bringing that international innovations to India. But we are working with Zyka on helping Japanese companies to get market access in India as part of TSIC. Yes. But if there is an opportunity for any women who wants to, an innovator especially wanted to kind of access Indian market, will certainly help. Like, there is no boundary for us. Where the mandate for us is across we have 33 districts within Telangana. So to kind of build and nurture the culture of innovation, the mindset shift in the 33 districts of Telangana. But having said that, we are not restricting ourselves to only Telangana. I know when we do some programs, we spearhead and we do the call for applications, and we ask interested applicants across India to apply to our programs. So I'm sure, like, as you said, probably like we might open it up to international innovators too. We don't know as of now.
Yeah, I think there are opportunities. I think we can speak offline, but there are women-led organizations that are actually interested in working and collaborating across the globe.
Yes.
So one other question. So I remember you shared a story about how you supported a woman of her innovation, if you remember. So can you just give an idea for many listeners who are having some ideas, innovation, but not taking that bold step to move forward, and how you went through that process of identifying someone who's got that passion to do something, and they innovated, and you actually created a platform, gave them the opportunity. So can you share that story a little bit?
Sure. So we work with a lot of, as I said, I don't restrict myself to a particular role. I was part of T-Hub, and at T-Hub, India's largest incubator, I was working with corporates on innovating open innovation programs for corporates to innovate by getting right startups across the globe to work with them. And then I used to speak at colleges and schools. So, and also, like, I used to be jury for hackathons, and I never said no to anything, I guess, if I remember correctly. Saturday, Sunday, like, I'm always kind of like running behind, all these events and attending events, being part of the panel sessions. I learned a lot. At one of the hackathons, I came across this young girl who was in her 8th grade, and she spoke to me, and she told me that she got inspired. I said, I continue to kind of, she was part of the hackathon, and I kind of asked her to kind of continue to think outside the box and innovate. And then during COVID times, she came to me along with a teacher, and she created a watch that kind of, alerts. It kind of helps people to maintain social distancing. If someone gets close to you, then it beeps. So I found it, interesting. And then again, a couple days later, she shared a few images of a pot. And I asked her, what is this? A pot and a few saplings in it. And I said, like, what is this? Her name is Shrija. She was in eighth or ninth grade by that time. And she said, ma'am, these are biopods made with groundnut the shell. And I said, like, what's the reason behind creating that? She said, we use a lot of plastic, single-use plastic to grow saplings. So every nursery, if you see, like, they use it, especially in India. I don't remember how the situation was in US, because I never paid attention to that side. So she then I could recollect all the nurseries in Telangana. If I speak about Telangana, we grow saplings in a piece of plastic bag, and then we transport those saplings to different locations, and then we plant them. So she said, like, why do we need to use the plastic bags? Why can't we kind of create this groundnut pod is a waste? It's going to go end up in the environment. Why would not I take it and add some more ingredients to it and make it a little sticky and create a pot out of it? And the product came out to be really, a beautiful one. And I immediately told her, like, there is a good market for it, because everyone is thinking as a conservationist, and even Telangana has our own flagship program called Haritaharam. It's like a green garland to Telangana. So I immediately connected her to, I was not part of TSIC by then. I connected her to TSIC, and then they thought about, you are doing manually all the pots. In a day you could do only 20, but how would we scale this up? So we have India's largest prototyping center called T-Works, and in Telangana, our state initiative, and they came up with this a molding machine. So you throw all the ingredients in it, and then it will kind of prepare the pots. And now the district collector vouched to give some land to her so that she can set up an MSME for that. And a couple other state people reached out to us, either to buy the pots from us or license the technology from us. So I'm asking. She is now in 10th grade, Shrija. And I'm asking her, would you be interested in, setting up a plant and kind of scale your product, or would you like to kind of license it out? So she certainly looks like wanted to kind of take this to the next level. Her mom and aunt are working with her right now. The chief minister's office is working with her so that, like, they could take these molding machines and take the ingredients from her and start creating these pots right at the nice nurseries itself, at every village setting. So it's a beautiful journey, and wherever she goes, she talks about it. How she kind of created these biopods. They're really beautiful ones. Yeah.
That's
so even
awesome.
even for our events, like, we do give these pots as goodies to our delegation, the dignitaries. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think it's environment friendly and most impactful
Yes.
project idea. So that's really nice. I think, that kind of leads me to my next question, right? So how you really supported that girl and created opportunity, opened up avenues for her. In your career, I think we all understand the importance of having an ally or a mentor in our career. So who have been your influencers and your mentors as you carried through this journey?
So I speak my mind, and usually, like, there is no one particular person who I run to. I always believe that you are the best mentor for yourself, because you understand your life very well. If you seek advices, you can. I'm not saying you should not, but you are the person who has to take the end decision. So the mentor will give zillion suggestions, but at the end, you are the person who has to understand your situation and then kind of work on it. So even when I was relocating back to India, after I took this opportunity, I did not consult anyone. I just listened to my own inner voice. Had I consulted, probably I could have gotten to hear a lot about, what is Indian work culture. There are a lot of politics there. A lot of dirt in India, and the roads are not good, or the infrastructure is not good. You lived in US for 15 years, so comfortable life. I would have gotten to hear a lot of such kind of advices, and probably I might have not taken this decision for sure. So the best thing what I did was like just to listen to myself. Are you happy? And so having you should have some people to look up for sure. But having a mentor and running to that person every time might make us little disabled, I guess. That's what I feel like. There are some people who held my back for sure. I know, especially when I went to this entrepreneurship institute. Sarah Sanders was the first person who heard me, who saw that passion in my eyes and gave me an opportunity to work. Dr. Kevin Boberg, he also gave me an opportunity to work at this entrepreneurship institute. Jason Koenig, who gave me that first management role as a program manager for a program. And then eventually all the people in the institute who liked my work and gave me that opportunity to scale further. Everyone, I appreciate all of them. But I don't remember like running to people and asking for whether this is good or bad. It might not work for everyone, for sure. But whatever makes you comfortable, but at the end of the day, you are the sole decision maker, and you should take responsibility for the decisions what you are making. And 6 years after I relocated, I'm solely responsible for my decision, and I'm happy. Looking back, I could connect all the dots and say, whatever decision I made is good. I can't blame anyone for sure for my decision. But there are some people who kind of hold our back, inspire us. Our IT minister, Mr. KTR, sir, he inspires me a lot. And whenever I talk to him, he listens to us. He listens to me, and it kind of holds my back and gives me the opportunities to work in the ecosystem. That integrity is also very important. Not only that integrity, but also the competence and how would you prove yourself? Maybe that gives a lot of confidence that you are your own mentor. You don't need to, once you do something really well, you took a decision and have done well, then you'll get a lot of confidence that you don't need a particular person as your mentor. You could really take care of yourself. That's my mantra, but it might not work for everyone. Sorry to say that. But whatever makes you comfortable is what I keep telling people. Even when someone comes to me with a problem, I kind of shy away from giving a solution to them. But I'll be happy to listen and and ask them like right questions to kind of for them to lead to a good solution, I guess, probably. But one best advice I got from my advisor is, I was thinking like, should I go to an Ivy League and get MBA? My advisor said, finish this PhD within 5 years, and you will not regret, because you're a doctor for life after that. So 5 years of time in your life is no big deal, is what he said. And I'm so happy I kind of, it registered in my head and I kind of followed that advice. Yeah. Such kind of things.
I mean, that's what pretty much, we're talking about, having someone to, when you are at a junction, you don't know where to go, yes. Having somebody, just, who can listen to you. And also
listen to you and
just share their experience, not necessarily give you a decision, right? So, yes. I mean, we all have done that. Important to have that kind of support and network around you as you're, growing in your career, and especially when you are at the leadership level, you have to interact with multiple people. I'm sure you're influencing a lot of people. You're also questioning, challenging a lot of things. And people look up to you, and I'm sure there are many young kids like the story you shared. They all look up to you. They all want to know how you reach to that point, and how you can help. And you received help, and you're actually passing it on. You're helping others. The cycle, the circle you're trying to close.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah. And one last question. I know we are getting close to the time here. What's your next step? What's your next goal? You seem like you're always looking for new challenge, right? So what is there right now? What's cooking, and what's keeping you really energized and motivated? And what's your next step?
I haven't, I'm thinking, but I haven't disclosed this to anyone else. So when the right time comes, and like, I'm sure everyone will get to know about it. For me, like complacency, I feel like, it's not the place, like nothing grows there. And if you're not contributing and if you're not growing, and then that is not the right place, and you have to kind of look into what is the next, progressive place. I don't have a nerve to start a startup, but I want to, probably continue in this government, sector for a little bit more time. I did work purely in the government sector, but now I'm a little bit again, kind of, it's a government thing, but not a lot of intervention from the government, because our IT minister says, our initiative should run in an autopilot mode and we should not interfere a lot. So in that way, like I saw the taste of government, and then I started working in this space. I would like to definitely set up an industry and provide employment opportunity for a lot of women, especially, and empower them for sure. What is that industry and how? I have no idea. I'm still thinking, like, it will happen.
It keeps evolving, right? Things keep evolving as
yes. It will happen when the right time comes. So right now I'm not jumping into things, but I have another thing too, but I'll not disclose that.
But it's good, right? Always to have something ahead of you. It's always keep you motivated, energized, and I'm always like that. What's my next thing, right?
Yeah, it's like women should be in that decision-making space, and for Telangana and for India, I want to see myself in that space. In what role and capacity, I have some thought process, but I already expressed interest in that regard to our IT minister multiple times. When I see less women representation, I don't give myself that reservation that I am a woman and I need to represent there. But whenever I see there is a void, I said, like, why there is such a big void, and why women are shying away to enter such kind of sectors. So, I do have the first one and the second one too. So I'll see, like, I can do both, and I cannot restrict myself to do only one.
I must tell you that when I visited, there is so much change in the way the government operates today, and I'm really pleased to see many women in the senior leadership positions there in the government. I mean, that's a huge change, which I'm extremely pleased about. And that's
even
one
if you see,
why I wanted to hear from you. Really moving in that direction.
Even if you see the political scenario, the Finland, prime minister is a lady, is a woman,
right.
And even in India, if you see, many young people are getting into the political space. Even women are not shying away, but again, still there is it's tiny % of women getting into the space too.
Right.
So, but again, we need educated women who can sit at the table and contribute at that level. Make it so. Yeah. So there are some gaps for sure.
So that's what SheTek is trying to do, really promote women to get into technology as well as, grow into leadership positions. We have a lot of factors that influence us to, stay back from and not push ourselves into those leadership positions. So all that, whatever we can do through SheTek, we're trying to do. So it's really wonderful talking to you. And I wish we had more time to discuss a lot more things. But it's a very interesting conversation. And first of all, thank you so much for your time. And I do want to, sure. And I do want to give some time for Q&A. I don't know if you have any questions, Elaine.
We did have a couple of questions, and one was kind of interesting, or actually all of them were interesting. A question came in: how did you manage your PhD work? There was apparent, it's a time-consuming thing. So what kept you motivated? And how much time did it require to pursue that type of education? I know you spoke about it some during this, but somebody wants
Yeah.
to know, how tough is a PhD?
It is tough because you have to kind of work on something very novel and prove something which is not existing. So it is pretty tough. I used to toil 18 to 20 hours a day, including weekends, pretty much. But again, having said that, you cannot just work on one thing that will drain you down. So my role at Entrepreneurship Cell Institute kind of helped me to kind of change the gears and get things going for me. It took me almost 5 years to finish PhD. I keep telling this, the amount of research I did as a master student, probably if I had continued for 3 more years back in 2004 itself, probably I might have gotten the PhD then itself. But I went to into industry, I worked there and went back to campus. Again, I have to start everything from scratch. So that took me a good 5 years. 5 years of time in your life is really, really, it's worth it. It's worth it to get a PhD degree. If you are interested in, pursuing PhD, please do that. It's draining, but again, you need to find another vocation or some outlet to de-stress yourself. And that outlet was my entrepreneurship job. So, yeah.
Thank you. I know PhDs can be very time consuming. We just had
It is.
a question come in from Chitra, who is one of our power team members, who is very engaged by the conversation, but she'd like to know, what is the one trait that made you so successful working in the government sector? What doesn't work well in that space? Like, what do you think gave you that edge as opposed to being in the private sector?
Great question, Chitra.
It's accountability, I would say. You are holding accountable for things what you're supposed to do, and once you do that, people will start believing in you. And in the ecosystem, I said there is this, go to Shanta and things will be done for you. That kind of the integrity is also that trust and integrity is very much needed, and then you will carve a niche for yourself. So I would always say accountability. Competence and all these things come, kind of like add to you, add later on, but like the accountability part, like that I am there and I'm taking responsibility for this. Yeah, good, bad, ugly, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Great answer. I mean, accountability goes across the board. Right?
Yeah.
And we have one last question over here that basically time is limited as far as how many hours you have in a day. So this person wanted to know that, how do you avoid procrastinating? How do you manage to make the most of your time during the day?
See, what works best for you, you should always listen to yourself. Not follow someone else's schedule. Some people say, you get up early in the morning and take care of your emails or like all that stuff, right? But you can get up in the morning and you could kind of think about like what exactly you wanted to do in a day, and just do what you're supposed to do. That makes you really happy. If you procrastinate, that gives a lot of negative vibes inside you, the negative impression that I kind of procrastinated on something, like not supposed to do something, but I did not do it because of so and so. Like you'll give a lot of explanation for yourself. So just do it what you're supposed to do on that day, and then you will have a peaceful sleep for sure. Even incrementally, like you need not to kind of do it in one go. Probably do it an incremental way, like I'll do probably like 1, 2, 3 steps, and even if you do step 1, you'll be still happy that at least you started, right? So that's the best way of like avoiding the procrastination. Yeah, at least do something, break down into kind of tiny pieces and delegate if possible. If someone is really an accountable person is around you and you can delegate, like, and then, it's much better that way too.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent answer. Start breaking down what, rather than saying the big thing I cannot do,
Yes.
break it down and take baby steps. Yeah. Awesome. Do we have more questions? Chaya?
Yep, we have one more from one of our attendees, Anusha, who thanks you, Dr. Shante, for being with us. Her
Thank you,
question
Anusha.
is, when you're having a really tough moment, when you have that person who you can't get to see eye to eye with you, or if there's a situation that seems impossible to solve, to come to a conclusion to, what tools or advice do you have to get past or through those really moments?
I would say ignore. Just think like that person is not existing. I do that, and smile away. It's not worth it. This life is so fragile. And, if you kind of start feeding to that, it becomes like, you're seeing a mountain out of a mole. I just ignore such kind of people. And there are better things to do in this world, if possible, like, if you are in that kind of situation, like, get into restroom and like turn on some music and like, just dance your heart out. But it's not worth our time to kind of pay attention to these naysayers and all these negative minds. We will not get anywhere for sure. And the more we kind of pay attention to them, the more it's heart burning to us. So the first thing I do is just ignore, and you'll be happy. Yeah. Sometimes if that person is your boss, then it's not that easy to kind of ignore. But again, there are ways for us to kind of get out of those kind of situations too. I ended up in such situations, but patience. Sometimes patience pays it off. Yeah. So things work in our favor if we are really true to ourselves and to our work. Even our colleagues and also subordinates, like they kind of give those moments to us. But we have to kind of learn how to kind of put up with such kind of people, and ignorance is sometimes bliss. And also, you kind of avoid such kind of situations as much as possible. And getting into heated conversations will give a lot of heartburn to us. Not worth it. Not worth it. And you're killing yourself. That's poisonous for ourselves. Smile away and like tell that person, God bless you. God bless you.
Yeah, the negative vibes are not good for us. But one thing,
That's awesome.
one of the quotes I always remember is, when you cannot change anyone, or you cannot change a model that you want to change, create a model that makes the existing model obsolete. It's really a lead into innovation too, right? When you know that some model is not working, instead of fighting against it, create a model that will make this one obsolete. And it applies to personalities, it applies to career, everywhere, even for innovation, right?
I keep telling one thing to myself, I do share this with my friends too. Even within your own family, within your siblings, like, you see a lot of conflicts. Our thought process are different. We are from the same family, right? So some random person, and how would you even think like that person will kind of like, gel well with you? Like, if there are, it's okay to have disagreements. We have to agree for that. But we should not kind of stuck in that situation for a longer time. Either like ignore or take that person in your confidence. Do something and take that person in your confidence.
Right. And sometimes disagreements give you a lot more perspectives on the issue. And that could also be helpful. Keeping the moods and emotions aside.
Everyone carries a lot of emotions to work, but you have to kind of
keep that aside.
Yeah. The more we dwell and like wallow in that, the more we kind of carry the luggage will increase on us. Yeah.
Very good. Well, I think that's a great way to end this session, Dr. Shanta. I think that's great advice. From following your heart and your passion will follow, to don't sweat the small stuff and don't get bogged down with some negative comments and people along the way. So thank you again for joining us and sharing everything that you did. Chaya, thank you. And on behalf of SheTek, we'd like to just let everybody know we have an upcoming event. Our next outlet will be on June 16th with Jody Grinwald, another great topic coming our way. So information should be sent out in the next couple of days.